So how do we go from this to this? A fully functioning desktop application written entirely using large language models. Stick around to find out. In a nutshell, this is the full process. So I've shown you the initial prompt, and that obviously then generated a new prompt, which I then had ChatGPT generate the full functional specification. I copied that across into my development environment, in this case Visual Studio Code, and using Cline, which is an extension for coding, I asked Cline to generate a set of technical specifications. That's all I did. I didn't review those. The only direction I gave in terms of technology was to use Electron architecture. So that's a cross-platform JavaScript based. After that, I told Cline, use the specification documents you have and start to generate an application. And that's where the majority of the time took. So there's a lot of going around, looping, feeding errors back in again. But once again, I did none of the actual coding. So this exercise is actually sometimes referred to as blind coding, where I just accepted everything that the large language model did. If there was an error, I fed it back in again and I told it to correct it. If there was a specification that wasn't met or requirement, then I told it so. I told it hadn't met it, or if the layout wasn't quite right. And that's what it was. So lots and lots of looping around. There is a video at the end of this. I will link it, which is 2 hours 45 minutes, which is the cut down version, which shows all the interaction between me and the large language model. What I have cut out though, or certainly not recorded, was where I've been sitting around for maybe sometimes 20 minutes or 15 minutes, 5 minutes, just waiting for the large language model to respond, or it's updating multiple files. Hopefully you enjoy the process and you can try this out and get some good results. Any questions, let me know. Here we are at the start of our build process. So I'm asking ChatGPT to come up with a better prompt first of all, to help then generate a functional spec for the best to-do application you've ever seen. Once that's been generated, we're going to save that, and then we're going to use that to actually generate the technical specs, and you'll see that coming along in a minute. While we're waiting for that, I just want to point out this is a small snippet from the full video. I'll put a link to the full video if anyone's interested. It does run to 2 hours 45, but I will also put in some timestamps there so you can see where we had significant development. So most of that will be showing finished or part finished GUIs coming up and operating. So one other thing worth pointing out, if you want to see the full application running, you can go to the end of this video and there's 2 minutes of me actually using the application. So this process, I actually directed the large language model as far as technology stack was concerned. I asked it to use the ElectronJS library and platform. The next video I'll actually do is undertake the same process with the same application, except I won't be giving it any direction as far as technology is concerned, the technology stack. So the idea is we'll see what technology the model thinks is best for it, and then we'll also see whether we have an increase in quality and whether there's a decrease in the amount of time taken, and overall just to see if there's any real difference. I suspect there will be a big difference, but we'll have to wait and see exactly what that amounts to. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this. We're now going to go into the actual process of showing these files being generated and being used within Visual Studio Code. So first of all, in my functional spec file, I paste in the details that were generated by ChatGPT. So that was our starting point, really, certainly from a spec point of view. So this is our functional spec, and this is being placed under our docs directory. We're just scrolling through that. There's a lot of content in there. One of the things worth pointing out is all the specs that have been generated here are actually on GitHub, and I'll put a link to those in the description below. So you can go through and review all those. So once we're happy with that, Again, I didn't change anything. I could have easily gone in and changed some part of that. We're now going to ask Klein to use that functional spec and generate a set of technical specs. And again, I specified that we're going to use Electron from a technology point of view, and also the fact it's going to run on Ubuntu PC. So we're going to start that off. There was actually a bit of a false start here, so I stopped it and I put it into plan mode. So Klein allows you to do plan mode, where it actually works better for going ahead and planning stuff. And when you're happy with that, you can then convert it to action and it will create the files. So this is Klein, or certainly the Sonnet model which sits behind it. It's telling me what it's created. It's now asking me if I want to actually create those files. When I do, I just flip over from plan back to action. A little button in the bottom right there, ACT. As soon as that's done, Klein will start to automatically create all those files. So it actually generates 4 files, it does, in fact possibly 5. So it actually generates overall architecture document, an API document, UE components, also a whole document on how to build and deploy. So here's the list of documents there. You can see the build, the API, the dev setup as well, and there's a functional spec we created earlier on, and then the technical spec and the UE components used. So once again, any of these I could have gone in and actually changed, but the whole point here was to actually see if we could get something that works properly using entirely generated technical specs and code. So that was the whole process. And again, specifying a small technical stack, in this case being Electron and Ubuntu desktop. Now we've actually completed those, I'm now instructing Klein, or certainly the large language model behind Klein, to use all the specs in the docs directory and start to actually generate the application based on those. Now it will actually go away and actually do this for quite a while. From my memory serves me right, around 20 minutes or so, starts generating a whole host of files, and that includes lots of development files, installing or libraries. If you can notice there, I unchecked the execute safe commands. So I could have had this running automatically, but one of the things that I wanted to do while recording this was to show all input and output. So if you did want to go through the entire recording, you could actually see all the outputs that were generated from Klein and the inputs, or my responses to those, so the direction I took. That's the full process there, other than iterating over whenever there's any issues, and we can go through and through. As you can see here though, this is the finished article. Oh, it's a nice to-do list. It looks great actually. We can flag any items, we can unflag those, we can only look at the flagged items, we can look at ones that are marked with a particular category, or we can cross out those. We can create new tags, new tasks. We can also edit tasks. So here we are creating a new task. So by clicking one of the plus buttons either at the top or the bottom of the screen, enter all our details. One of the things unfortunately you can't see in the recording is when you select the date, it does pop up a calendar component. The recording didn't show that for some reason. We create that, there we go, listed at the top there. If you click it, there we go, we can now edit it. We can delete it if we want to, and we can save the changes, we can change any of the information we want to. We're quite happy with that, so we'll let that go. Here we go, we can now go and add another category. We can select colours, give it a name, decide what we actually want to do. So you can see the category colours against each task that has a category. It doesn't have to have a category. And here we are editing a category. And this is all functionality that was specified in the original spec. I hope you enjoyed that, and if there's any questions, or please let me know down in the comments, and I look forward to presenting something next time. Thank you very much.